This is Andrew Wicklund with Project Risk Consultants. We're going to go over the format menu in Primavera Risk. First thing we're going to go after is the time scale. So that's your first option right here. I'm going to click on the time scale options. You'll notice you get some options on whether or not what you want the scale to be. Do you want it to be by 1 day, by year, things like that. It includes the viewable lines, the subunits, things like that. So if I change this to years and click OK, you'll notice it changes the scale right here in red. I can also right click on that scale and I get format time scale. So that'll just give you the ability to view in different ways. So if you have bigger or smaller projects, it'll help you look at the view there. Now going from top to bottom, the columns, this allows you to add and remove columns. So I can click on that, or I can double click on a column header and I get either group fields, alphabetic fields. Now you have a left and a right column, so you've got this space to the left of the Gantt chart and the space to the right. And all you're really doing is taking these fields, pushing the button to the right, and adding and removing fields. We'll go over this in depth later on, but what fields do you want to show up? What fields do you want to be able to manipulate? So when I get past format though, what we're looking at from lines to individual task styles, these are mostly, hey, how do I want the product to look? It really, the data is not going to really change. It's more, hey, I want my St. Patrick's Day is coming up. I want all my bars to be green, things like that. So the lines allows you to add a rule in there. So if I want, say, every 2 lines, I can have it add a rule, and I'll have it add like a real thick line here. You'll notice now I've got those separators in there, so it helps me view things a little bit better. When I go down to the Gantt chart, this has all of your details on ignoring individual task styles. Do you want to show your baseline bars? Do you want to show your downtime? Things like that. So a few of these options you can get through the shortcut icons up here. You'll notice right towards the middle, show your links, show downtime, etc. So if I uncheck this box, it'll remove all the links from my schedule. So I can add those back on. So that's your Gantt chart view. The bars view, this sets up the actual colors of the bars. So if you said, you know what, critical path red isn't good enough for me. I want it to be black, or I want it to be dark red or purple. You could change just the default colors of the default bar types. You can add shading. You can add different fill styles. You can add different fonts, things like that. The custom taskbars, this is more if you want to create a bar and say, you know what, I'd like to show a probability 80 start and finish bar. I can go in here and add a probability 80 start and finish bar in here. So that way I can go in here, set the colors, things like that. I'm not going to go in depth on how to do this because we'll do it in a different module, but this allows you to add a bar, say for example in my risk outputs view. And if you ever add the risk outputs view, you can go in, click custom taskbars, and you can see how they did that. So they're showing a P50 start and finish and a P80 start and finish, and it shows you your options. So it's real easy for a user to come in, look at these taskbars, how they're set up, and replicate that. So the next one we're looking at is the outline color. The outline color, all it's doing is the WBS per level. So right now, say that color is blue. I like purple a little bit more. It's the color of royalty. We'll go ahead and add that in, click OK, and now our first level of our WBS is in a royal purple color. So that's kind of more for the user's benefit than anything else. Below that, you've got resource graph, resource sheet, and then graph and sheet attributes. And then you've got a precedence network style. Now all of these are just to set up the look of that particular view. So right now I've clicked on the Gantt chart view. So all of the options I can get to are the Gantt chart options up top. Once I click down here on the resource graph, you'll notice I have the resource graph options open. So I can go in and change the color for supply and demand, actual, budget, etc. Once again, the data is the data. This is just how is it going to be presented, what is it going to look like. So any of these, when I go into the view menu and click view and insert a view, if I wanted to look at a precedence network, I would add in the PERT network standard. And now that I've got that active, I can go back to my format and set up my precedence network styles, my precedence network fonts. So just to recap what this section does, most of the options towards the top are for editing the actual Gantt chart view and your column data. So from timescales, actually from columns down to outline colors. Now when you're looking at timescales, that's for each one of the views. Each one will have a timescale. When you look down at resource graph, precedence network, resource sheet, that's only going to pertain to the active views. So if you don't have one of those views active, those are going to be grayed out.